What's up, YouTube? I um I purchased the book The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And in some parts when I was reading the book, I cried. And the reason why I cried is not so much of the injustice that was done in the story, but I cried because I know it was an act of God that brought Rebecca Klutz, who was a white woman, together with this black woman or mixed race woman, Henrietta Lacks. Now, I made a video introducing Henrietta Lacks to people who don't know who she is. Obviously, everybody in this video knows who she is. But a month ago, I didn't know who Henrietta Lacks was. On Facebook, I saw a comment where somebody said, please get the book Henrietta Lacks. Please Google her. Such a fascinating and amazing story. But I had gotten Henrietta Lacks mixed up with another black woman in history, and this black woman was the circus, the black woman who they paraded around as a circus freak because she had big hips and a big butt. And I was basically thinking that's who Henrietta Lacks was, and I didn't pay it any attention anymore. And then I just happened to be surfing YouTube videos, and I saw this guy interviewing a guest on YouTube. I guess they were from the 5%er Nation of Islam, whatever. And the guy was basically dropping some knowledge about Henrietta Lacks. And one of the reasons that sparked my interest was the guy wanted to remain anonymous. He had his back turned. The guest wanted to remain anonymous. He had his back turned because he didn't want people to know who was dropping this knowledge. And then when he started talking about the cells have been used to in biological warfare, or used to make biological weapons and nuclear weapons, and had something to do with DNA and the internet and gene mapping and so forth, I said, wow, this is an interesting story. So I Googled Henrietta Lacks, and I read some more, and I was very interested. And I was going to get the book on Amazon.com because I know books are cheaper on there, but I ended up buying it in the bookstore. And then I was talking to some of the some of the women that worked there who bought the book. They said the book was selling off the shelves, and they said they really enjoyed the book. So that even sparked my interest more to buy it. And when I read the book, I'm only in the 6th chapter now, but I read the preface, and I was just amazed at the significant contribution that this woman has, contributed to society. And I'm extremely impressed with the author, Rebecca Klutz, a white woman, who's writing about this black woman or mulatto woman or whatever you want to call her. Race is not an issue here with me. And the reason why I'm extremely impressed with her, because of her honest and sincere approach in telling this story. And I truly believe she was sent by God to tell this story, and only she could have told this story. No, I don't think anyone could have told it better. And what impresses me so much about the author is because in the beginning of her book, she basically establishes the fact that her and Henrietta are from 2 different time periods and are from 2 different worlds. And she makes the point that she's a white woman that grew up in middle class or upper class white society, and she's educated, whereas Henrietta Lacks has a 7th grade education, and she grew up as a poor tobacco farmer. So basically this lady is setting her intention. She's more or less sharing her honesty and sincerity to us when she's telling the story. Another thing impresses me about the book is the respect that this white woman has for this family. When she says that she's going to use their same language, she's basically using the same language, you know, how these people talk. So, you know, that's why I respect her, because I respect her courage and I respect her drive and her initiative to tell this story. It upsets me where people are talking about, they're making the issue of the white and black. They're making this a racial issue, white and black. And some of the people are saying some misinformation in here, as far as all black people have these immortal cells. I don't know that to be true, but from reading the book, from what I understand in the book, these doctors, anybody that came into the hospital who was complaining of, or who was diagnosed with cervical cancer, they basically scraped their cells and they took them and they studied them, whether they were white or black. And Henrietta Lacks just happened to be one whose cells did not die, whether they were white or black. And another thing, yes, in the book, Rebecca talks about how there was racism. We know that back in the 1950s in the South, in Baltimore, it was a segregated society, and that black people didn't question authority or white people, period. And that basically, you know, we know about this Tuskegee Airmen experiments and stuff like that, which was a racial experiment. We know about that. But it wasn't uncommon back in those days for people for doctors or researchers to take people's cells, whether they be white or black. It wasn't uncommon for them to do that. Now, I'm not saying that it's right, but that it was not uncommon for them to do that from a scientific standpoint. They felt that it was better for the good of society to use those cells. But it probably was more prevalent with black patients, because in that time black people were not as respected or didn't have as many rights as they do today. So this story is not so much of a racial issue, but the fact that the contribution that this woman's cells made to society. And you can't really say it from a racial perspective, because God brought a white woman, and I specifically think that God chose the white woman to write this story in order to make us realize that this really is not about race. Now, I'm running out of time here. I'm going to make a second part, and I'm going to kind of like more or less give you some reasons why I think this woman was truly sent from God to write this story. So I'm going to end here and pick it up in part 2, where I'm going to talk more about Rebecca Klutz and how I think this was divine revelation.